This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
It's fine, I guess.
These chapters?
That's how I feel about these chapters. They're fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
I guess.
On rereading Matt's letter chapter, I find it less egregious than I do in my memory. For a couple of reasons that I'll point out when I get there. Most notably, he says, yeah, this is a rough draft that I just decided to send anyway. And it's like, I was going to rewrite this. Like, and when he's writing a rough draft, I can see where, there's a couple of misspellings, there's crossed out words. Like, of course, like if you're writing a rough draft, you're going to cross stuff out and use a different word. Right.
That is why it's called a rough draft, is because
right.
you don't have to make it perfect. You can just allow the mistakes to stand, and it's okay.
And then you combine that with just like the number of emails I've written to then delete and the things I've said in them, that I feel like this is one of those situations where it's like, Matt, you should have deleted this one and rewritten it like better. And like taking that into account, I can forgive some of the crudeness that's in there.
Yeah. Well, like I said last time, I love the sibling bickering energy that gets translated through the letters. So I'm willing to forgive the letter's actual awkwardness because of how Elayne and Matt interact with each other via that letter as an icebreaker. So, but before we get to that, we have to do this Perrin and Galad chapter, which is like maybe a little bit less than fine. Yeah, honestly.
I have a few things to say about it, but not a lot. Actually, there's a few background things that I think are interesting in this chapter, but I really don't find the main plot to be. I mean, Perrin meets with Galad, and they both kind of go, yep, we're going to fight. And, like, Galad never says his name, which is just dumb. He just says, I'm Lord Captain Commander. Like, what? Why would he not say his formal title and his full name? Like, that seems just common sense. It feels manufactured that Perrin doesn't find out in this moment that Galad is the Lord Captain Commander. And I think that's what frustrates me about this chapter.
That's what frustrates me hugely about their entire dynamic, is that so much would have been resolved if Galad had just ever introduced himself by name, which seems like a perfectly ordinary thing to do. And the fact that that is what so much of this, like, will they, won't they plot hangs on. Just, I hate will they, won't they. Anytime that's used as a narrative plot or forwarding, quote unquote, or plot stalling device, it just, I hate it as a trope. I hate it as a mechanic. And this feels like so manufactured and ham-fisted, even within the context of that trope, that it's I sprained my eyes rolling my eyeballs while I was reading this chapter.
Yes. I don't think I want to do a read-in on this. I don't find I'd rather...
the only thing I think we need from this read-in is to point out these two interesting Two Rivers names that never come up again, because those are probably fan inserts.
Okay, good call.
We've never heard of Montem Alsan and Azzy Althone. I don't think those are names we've ever seen before or since, so I'm pretty sure those are some more hat tips to beta readers.
To beta readers, yeah. Let's see. I didn't actually look those two people up.
And then the only other interesting part about the area that would be a read-in is just that they have recently camped near the statue that Nynaeve comes to get Tam at, right? Like, this is one of those location stamps of like, it's the statue with stabbing the ground with the sword. And, we know that when Nynaeve comes to get Tam, that's significantly after this, but like they have just arrived at that statue. So for what it's worth in trying to organize the timelines, that's helpful. But yeah.
This is before Tam quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, because Tam leaves on the eve of the trial, I believe, or on the eve of the battle, right? And Perrin is like, you have to leave now? Like, right now? And Tam says, yeah, I'm real sorry, bud, but like, I have to go right now. And that's after all of this Perrin and Galad stuff has gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. That's when Tam leaves. And they have only just now, this day in the plot, arrived. So, for what it's worth, we can locate ourselves in the timeline in that way.
So, and just to reference those two names, in 2008, Anthony Aziz won a drawing grand prize hosted by Tarvalon.net to get his name in the Tower of Midnight. So that's where this comes from. And Montem Alsan is named for Sean Montgomery, a fan of the Wheel of Time. So I'm not sure how he got his name in there, but they're both fan inserts, yes.
Nice. Yeah.
Good catch.
That's the game we're playing now.
Yeah.
That is the game we're playing now, is spot the fan insert. So, but yeah, that's all I had for the entire read-in section, was like fan insert names, and they have just arrived at the statue, which we know they will be camped at up to Tam getting taken away.
Yeah, I've got to mention that some of the Two Rivers men are eyeing him sideways because they still think he cheated on Fael with Elayne. They haven't dealt with that yet.
Eye roll number one.
Eye roll number one.
And we should mention this is the chapter called After the Taint, right? Because Perrin and Grady have that discussion about, I used to not have anything to live for because of the Taint, and now that the Taint is gone, Asha'man have something to live for, and that's an important like Gestalt shift in their entire worldview.
Which, that's the thing that Rand, it's kind of weird because he picks that up before Rand sends the message that you're not weapons, you're men, right? Because that's kind of saying the same thing.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of a universal observation. You don't need Rand to tell you that. It's sort of a natural law.
But that's what Codswain had to teach them, right?
I truly don't think that Catswain was necessary, because this man came to that conclusion entirely sans Catswain. The symbol is the dragon's fang, because, again, obviously.
Perrin's first thought, so they're dealing with the fact that the White Cloaks took the people who were traveling with supplies.
And the grain from So Harbor. Like how Sanderson's like, remember So Harbor? Remember So Harbor?
That's right.
Yeah. The White Cloaks took that grain, the Weevil grain.
And so his first thought is like, what did I do last time I came in with the White Cloaks? I snuck in and freed the prisoners and snuck back out again, and that worked pretty well. So he's like, can we sneak in and free them? And they're like, great. It's like, I don't really see why we would sneak. I could just kill them. They don't have channelers. They're worthless as a fighting force. And I love that whole sentiment where Grady's like, they don't have anyone who can channel the one power. Grady shrugged, hands clasped behind his back as he walked. With his black coat, the pin, and the increasingly soldier-like attitude, he was looking less and less like a farmer. Niald is feeling better. He and I could pound those children down until they give us what we want. And it's just like, just the two of them are a force that outstrips the White Cloaks. They're so useless.
Yeah. Perrin's like, oh my God, complicated. They're like, Perrin. The level of mountain versus molehill right now is ridiculous. Any one of these channelers could probably take out the entire White Cloak army. Any two of us, it's going to be a walk in the park. Don't make this complicated. This is not 100,000 Shido. This is like 3,000 dickwads on horses.
Right, without channelers. And you just figured out circles. So, you have male channelers who can now pound them with an incredible amount of force with a lot of support in a circle.
Well, they're going to figure out circles in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's
technically. But it's just Perrin is so determined to make this complicated because it's in a way him and Galad are so well matched because they just insist on making everything so much more complicated than it has to be.
Mm-hmm. He realizes that this is basically the same group of White Cloaks he dealt with before in the Two Rivers that he kicked out because it's got Bornhold.
Right. He has this thought at the beginning that like maybe they're going to like be able to sneak by and like maybe they won't know who we are. Maybe we can hide that. And then the first White Cloak that walks up is like the one who has the most animus for him. It's like, okay, so
you killed
we're
my
not
father.
going to get
Prepare
to be
to die.
sneaky. Exactly. So none of that subterfuge is going to help. Cool.
Does Perrin have 6 fingers on his left hand? Just out of curiosity.
I know, right? Well, he is from the Two Rivers, and the cats there are pterodactyls. What the fuck is
polydactyl?
That? Polydactyl. God, pterodactyl. Yeah, polydactyl.
The pterodactyls. Oh God, that reminds me of. I've referenced Sluggy before. It's a webcomic, and there's a horror theme where Satan gives birth to a slew of murderous kittens who eventually sprout bat wings and start attacking from the skies.
Polydactyl pterodactyls.
Yes, polydactyl pterodactyls.
That's where I'm going. But yeah, so circles. Another important step in the creating of Ma'alanir occurs when the male-female experimentation into making circles becomes a thing. And now they're just going to teach it to everyone else. But like this is the moment when they figure it out. I
feel like Sanderson is trying to be like, okay, we have all of these things that exist out in the world that now I need everybody to figure out all at the same. Like we're doing stepping up power levels very quickly. A lot of people are learning how to be soldiers very quickly. A lot of channelers are learning these weaves that were, kind of scattered and how men and women can work together and how to make gateways. And there's just a lot of power scaling happening in this book, kind of in the background as he's like, okay, to have the last battle, we want all of these tools and abilities and things to be in the last battle, which means all these people need to have those abilities. So hold on really quick. Let me teach everybody everything.
Yeah, it's like narratively there is a critical mass that does make sense, but it also is like Sanderson got in here and was like, all right, we're going to turn the pedal to the metal. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
Right.
Sanderson is in town. Now we need to make this happen.
And don't get me wrong. I think power scaling magic systems is one of Sanderson's best writing abilities, right? Like, he's a great world builder and he's great at power scaling magic, right? I think those are two of the things he's, I think his character work needs work. I think his plot is often a little simplistic, and I think his writing is often not as well layered as it could be. All these means he's very accessible, right? He's very easy to read. And I know people disagree with people love some of his characters, and I still find them very shallow, even his more complicated ones. But he writes his action well.
Yeah, no, it's I love Robert Jordan and his magic system, but Sanderson's ability to scale and expand a magic system at this critical juncture in the escalating towards the last battle was really a powerfully constructive wave.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm really love Pavara and Andral. I wish it had been Logain and his, like, if I just rewrite that to be like, oh yeah, just have that be Logain because he's a character that exists. It'd be cool to see him figuring this all out with the gateways, but I understand why they didn't, And the other thing Sanderson really likes to do, and you see this really in the second Mistborn trilogy, is he loves to min-max his characters. He loves to say, oh, what if he's really, really, really low power, but he can do this really amazing thing with this one really amazing thing with gateways. How can I use that to its full extent?
Mm-hmm. Which is fun. It's a good sandbox to play in, but it is also, you can see it when it's happening. Something I really like about this exchange with Perrin and Grady is that Perrin does not even question the concept that the taint could have been cleansed. He's like, no, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Seems like something Rand would do. Seems like something this man really believes. Just kind of feels right. He doesn't be all stuck in the mud about it like literally everyone else. Except for Moraine. It's like Perrin and Moraine are the only ones that are like, no, yeah, that tracks.
And it's his, and he does that repeatedly with Rand, where he's like, oh yeah, of course you need to break the seals. Like you have to clear the rubble. Right. That makes sense to me, right? Like you can't reforge something that's broken. You have to make a new one, right? Like that. Perrin is super, probably the most supportive of Rand out of anybody in the series in general.
By a large margin.
Like this whole quest to go out and get the prophet and come back, he has stuck to that the whole time. I mean, a little diversion to rescue his wife, but that's understandable, right? But other than that, he's completely stuck with his quest, and up until the point where, and he's like, well, he wanted me to take care of him as a problem, and I took care of him as a problem. Even if it was somewhat accidental, he put his followers through a meat grinder on purpose. So, he's loyal. And Matt's almost loyal by accident,
Yeah. I feel like Matt is a lot more skeptical when he gets told about the taint being cleansed. Like, he's convinced, but his first reaction is not make sense. His first reaction is, are you insane? Yeah, you're probably insane because he does what everyone else does. And Perrin's just like, I don't see why that would be false. Seems reasonable. Which, I mean, granted, Perrin has the spidey sense of smell, but still, I just like that his inclination is like, yeah, Rand would probably do something like that.
And logically, yeah. I mean, he's the Dragon Reborn. He's this legendary figure. He's probably going to do things no one else has done. And the tent has to be cleansed in order to be tainted.
Right.
And, it makes sense on a lot of levels. And I think that's why it's so frustrating, because you expect everyone to react the way Perrin does.
Yeah, exactly. Perrin's an outlier, but it's what all of us are feeling as readers who spend so much time with Rand, being sympathetic to Rand.
So then we get Grady talking about how he wants to go back to see his family in the Black Tower, which doesn't that not be possible because the spike is there? The dream spike?
Yes, I think that's how Perrin is clued into the fact that something's wrong at the White Tower. Because, this man who is
the Black Tower,
very determined to go see his family is like, I can't get in. Perrin's like, oh, that means something's wrong. Something has to be. But we have our own problems here. Like, I don't think Perrin's ever able to do anything about it. But yeah, I don't. Do we ever know what happens to Sora and Gadrin throughout all of the Black Tower shenanigans?
One would assume they're fine because Gadrin is
Gaidal Kane.
Kane.
Right. Yeah, so one assumes that him and his mom are fine, but I don't think we ever see them on page or see them reunite with Grady or anything. That has to just be a pure speculative headcanon.
Yeah, I don't see any reference to them after this chapter.
But yeah, Gadrin is definitely Gaidal Cain because he's ugly as a stump, young
Yep.
enough to be paired up with Brigida when she's, reborn in like less than a year. And it's described as ugly and has a G name. So, one assumes. No one is not assuming.
Also, I believe it's been confirmed by Sanderson in his outside the books.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, cool. Because it feels a little watertight of a theory for anything else, but that's a little satisfying to know, actually.
Yeah, Brandon Sanderson, however, indicated he knows both who Geidel is and left a clue in Towers of Midnight about his identity. Wait, in a later interview, he hinted that Gadrin would be too old?
I thought it was Oliver that's too old.
Yeah.
I thought it was always, it must be Oliver. And it's like, no, Oliver's significantly too old.
He later admitted Grady had multiple children. The new theory, practically confirmed by Sanderson, is that Gadriel is another son of Grady that is either just born or recently conceived. Okay, whatever.
Whatever. God, sometimes authors are just wrong. They need us readers to tell them that they're wrong.
Yeah, no, you don't. This is clearly the G name ugly. Like, this is clear. Oh my God, no, it's another son because he's too. No, he's not too old.
No, whatever.
Okay, whatever. God, sometimes Brandon Sanderson needs to shut up outside of his books. It's also one of my biggest problems with his own books too. Is it's like, dude, can you just let us read the books and interpret them? Like Raphos shit more often.
Yeah, this is why I ignore. I don't really follow authors in general as a thing. I follow very few authors because I just want the finished book. I don't want all of their thoughts and musings and whatever else. Like I just want the finished work. That's it. Sanderson is just the most epitomous of all of that. All right, so news of the White Cloaks and their parley comes rolling in, and Dane Bornhold's all over the situation, as one does. And yeah, invites Perrin, to go meet with Galad, saying, I would totally ambush you, but the Lord Captain Commander has such a code of honor that you can trust him not to ambush you, which Perrin doesn't really believe, but it is an interesting expression of the dynamic that this guy is like, I would ambush you. Just to be clear, I would ambush you. I will not be ambushing you because I respect my commander who will not be ambushing you.
But yeah, I mean, he blames him for killing his father. So, I mean, there's definitely like some real animosity there.
Yeah. And I do like that Galad and Perrin's parties are both like, how crazy are you to do this? You shouldn't do this. This is dangerous. This is foolish. Like both of their crews are having the same complaints. And these two very honorable, very logical men are like, no, we're going to do our leader thing where we ignore all of our advisors and do the unadvisable thing. And yet somehow annoyingly still miss each other in the most annoying will they, won't they ever.
Because again, Bornhold never says Lord Captain Commander
Galad
Damodred. Damodred, right. Not Tracand. Damodred, right. Yeah. Just say the name. Say the name.
Like, we knew the Lord Captain Commander's name. Every other time he walked on stage, every other time he's been announced by one of his subordinates, he gets his full title and legal name. This one time, for a plot, it happens to get left out. Ugh.
And you think, God, what's his spy master's name? Who came from the White Cloaks? Balwer. You think Balwer wouldn't immediately suss out who the Lord Captain Commander is?
Yeah, I refuse to believe that Balwer can be that obtuse when Galad was a pawn in his old master's machinations. Like, I don't buy it.
So he walks in, and of course, the first thing Galad does is go, oh, you got golden eyes. You must be a dark friend. Because that was true.
I didn't believe that, but that confirms everything else.
It's like, no. Oh.
And Perrin walks in and goes, oh, the White Cloaks smell terrible, but the leader smells slightly better, so I guess I can work with them, maybe, possibly. Yay, Galad's a fanatic who's not fanatical. That doesn't even make sense, honestly.
Right, the leader of the... And like, shouldn't these be the group that's less fanatical? I thought it was these are the good ones, right? These are the ones who didn't have the issues with as the questioners, who aren't the torturers, who aren't the ones who are crazy fanatical. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So they do a little bit of a back and forth. He said, she said, potato.
You killed some White Cloaks a few years back.
Yeah. Perrin demands a more formal parley, which Galad, snap decisions, decides he doesn't want to do. It's like the first time we've ever seen Galad make a truly incorrect decision because he actually goes back on it. But yeah, it's It's just setting up the back and forth that we're going to have to suffer through forever.
And so then we go back to Galad's POV where he basically says, since he has yellow eyes, we're going to fight.
Oh, right. And Perrin literally doesn't take him captive when Grady's like, I could just nab this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have been so simple to just do a little reverse ambush, little Uno reverse on who's the asshole here. And no, Perrin's so honorable.
And then exchange them for the prisoners. Be like, give me my prisoners back and you can have your Lord Captain Commander back.
It would have been so simple. So many less chapters of me banging my head against the wall if we had just done that.
Chapter 11. An unexpected letter. Let's get away from the Perrin stuff.
Matt and Elayne. Let's do it. Well, mostly Elayne, but Elayne laughing at Matt. I guess this one does deserve a read-in.
Sure. Yes.
They can't possibly think I'll sign this, Elayne said, tossing the sheaf of papers onto the floor beside her chair. It's unlikely that they do, Dylan said. Her golden hair was pristine, her firm face controlled, her slim body poised. The woman was perfect. It was unfair that she should look so pristine while Elayne felt like a sow, fattened up and ripe for the slaughter. The hearth in Elaine's sitting room crackled warmly. Wine sat in the pitcher on one of the wall sideboards, but of course she wasn't allowed any of that. If one more person tried to offer her bloody goat's milk. Brigitte lounged near the far wall, golden braid hanging over her right shoulder, contrasting with her white-collared red coat and sky-blue trousers. She poured herself a cup of tea and smiled over it, amused by Elaine's annoyance. Elayne could feel the emotion through the bond. They were the only ones in the room. Elayne had retired to the sitting room after accepting the proposal from Elorian's messenger, explaining that she would like to consider the offer in private. Well, she'd consider it trash, for that was all it was. I love Elayne when she's pissed.
Pissed Elaine's pretty good.
And Kate reads pissed off Elayne really, really well.
No, I actually do enjoy this chunk of Elayne, right? I think it's fun, it's well written. Pregnant Elayne is just, I think, a fun character. Even though she does really dumb, risky stuff, and everyone's like, I don't know. I like it.
I also like getting to see after we win the Succession War, the plot continues, right? The Succession arc, I find a lot more frustrating than her figuring out how to shore up her power after she technically gets the throne. Same.
We definitely have to talk a little bit about Elorian when we get to her, though.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, we have to start with this proposal, which is that Elorian is saying you need to release the political prisoners that you've taken, the 3 women whose names I'm forgetting, and a couple of other people. She's like, you have to let them go because reasons, politics.
Armilla, Nian, and Elayne are the 3.
Yes, those 3 women. And so to let them go is, a show of reconciliation, whatever, but it also puts loyalty towards Elorian. Like there's all this, who owes who, quid pro quo kind of stuff. And Elorian is for some reason proposing this, which pisses Elayne off because it's like she's working for her enemies. And, Elorian is supposed to be, more like Dylan, right? She's supposed to be like an honorary aunt who is best friends with her mom and one of her most solid supporters. And instead she's like actively undermining her. It's a whole thing. And as we learn, there are reasons for that. It's not just Elorian being petty. There's stuff going on here.
Right, because go back through Elorian's history. She was an ally, but she was exiled, right, by Morghese, right?
Beaten and exiled.
But there was a point where she was talking about supporting Elayne.
No, she's the never Tricand holdout. Like when she gets exiled by Morghese, she is over it. She never wants to see another Tricand on the throne. She's very solid about that.
Path of Daggers, chapter 28. Hold on. So, according to Dylan, in the Path of Daggers, when she's laying out her threats, Luon and Elorian support Elayne, but may switch to her, and may support her instead. So, at least in that moment, that maybe I'm reading this chapter summary incorrect. Let me do a quick.
Either that or Dylan is super delusional.
Yeah.
I feel like every time Elayne gets to speak for herself, she is a never tracant absolutist.
Yeah, maybe I feel like that's more of a hope that she would support her.
Because of the history that Dylan and Elayne and Morghese all had, right? She's like, well, the three of us are tight. Like, of course she's going to come around. And Elayne's like, the fuck I am. I was publicly whipped. No.
Interesting, yeah. So, yeah, I think that was just Dylan thinking, oh, she'll come to us because, and not actually getting her actually, yeah.
Yeah, Dylan was really hopeful for that entire process and kept being overly optimistic. But the real reason why this proposal is happening is not because Elayne hates Elayne, but because Duhara is yes-anding her frustrations with Elayne.
Right. So she's being advised by a Black Ajah sister.
Operating as an Elaida-aligned red.
Right.
It's really never going to be a good situation.
And so that's where I assume that this really frustrating proposal that comes out is like, yes, this is actually the Black Ajah sabotaging her.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's both Elaida making sure that Elayne can't succeed without her and the Black Ajah making sure she can't succeed, period. Like, I think Duhara is double dipping.
And because of timelines, this is happening before Egwene overthrows Elaida and reveals the Black Ajah and Varen's letters, and Varen commits suicide. And all this is all happening long before that.
Yeah, I would assume that this is maybe around when Egwene's getting captured and brought into the White Tower. This is probably roughly around then.
Which is just crazy that's like 2 books ago, yeah.
I know. But yeah, so now Dylan and Birgitte are debating the merits of the proposal in the sense that these prisoners are expensive to keep, and keeping them loses its value over time. So choosing when and how to get rid of them is a super valid thing to do, even if you don't like this proposal per se.
And of course, Birgitte says we should murder them. Like they're prisoners. They're political prisoners. They should be executed, right, for treason, essentially.
Meanwhile, the political operators are like, no.
But I love this next paragraph. So our soldiers can die, but the nobles bloody walk away, Birgitte asked. Then she raised her hand before Elayne could spare the lecture.
Why do they always send the poor?
I understand. I don't agree, but I understand. It's always been this way. And it's like, yeah, thank you, Birgitte, for pointing out the fact that, like, yeah, soldiers can die, on an order to take a few inches of hallway. But yet the person who is willing to fight and have those people sacrifice their lives on their behalf their life is not up for grabs. Life is not at risk. And it's like, maybe it should be.
Why don't princes fight the wars? Why do they always send the poor? It's I do appreciate Birgitte being the voice of that's not fucking fair.
Right.
In this moment. It's really nice to have her, this big, strong hero soldier, just being like, this is fucked up. And then the two politicians saying, anyway, it's just like, I like Birgitte. I'm not going to argue it as obviously this is the way things are. This is the way things have always been, but acknowledging that it's fucked up is important.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can change it someday. Certainly in this moment it won't happen, but we should at least state for the record that this is not okay.
But, it is one of the reasons why being president is statistically one of the most dangerous jobs out there, right? The number of people who are president who have been murdered in office is actually, as a percentage, a lot higher than almost any other job.
Yeah, well, that's also what you get with very small sample sizes.
Thank you for pointing that out.
But yeah, no, I mean, being the leader of a large organization that does many violent things at scale is not supposed to be a safe position, or I guess it is supposed to be a safe position because a lot of resources get put into making it safe. Looking at you, Swiss Guard. It's just really funny, though, that the basic soldier is like, seems like the rich people should probably have to have some consequences, and the two very rich people just look at her like, no.
What are you, crazy? No,
that's ridiculous.
That's not how this works. Yeah.
Anyway, why do we have a pleb in here?
How can we play a game with people's life if it's not a game?
Yeah, you do realize that we're more important because we wear nice clothes, right? That is obvious to you. Anyway.
Not to bring up Dungeon Crawler Carl, but one of my favorite things about that series is that, you know, it starts out as the people are stuck in the dungeon and the aliens get to come down and play roles and can murder at their heart's content and aren't in danger. And he's able to change the rules so that they are in danger. And that sort of changes everything, that these rich people are now trapped in a game where they can be murdered, where before it was just them hunting for fun.
That is a dark premise.
Yes. It's a dark book. It's a bloody, dark series, for sure. For sure. But a lot of comedy as well, which it balances it.
All right. So we're talking about how Elayne's going to shore up power, given that she's nibbling away at it with giving chunks to the sea folk and political prisoners and da-da-da-da-da. And she says, you know what we should do? We should have a war on two fronts. Not really, but kind of.
Well, I think the sea folk thing is setting up the fact that she wants to get the kin, so she doesn't have to pay the sea folk in land anymore, right? This is the whole, she had a bargain with them to be channelers for her and do gateways. And now she's like, okay, I can do that with the kin and get a better deal out of them and tell the sea folk to go. It's because this chapter ends with her going to the kin and basically saying, let's get them here in Andor and give them a base of power.
She still has to give the land to the sea folk, though. She just makes it less valuable for them than they thought it was going to be.
I know. And she's also like, I don't want to depend on the sea folk anymore, right? Like, that's a big part of it. I think this is sort of starting the thought process of like, yes, they've been valuable, but I don't want to be dependent on them as a foreign entity.
Right. And she's already given them a chunk of land, which, as Dylan points out, is like kind of a precedent-breaking thing. It's a little bit uncool.
But it gives them a piece of land that's not actually on the river, which so they have to like get off the river to get to the piece of land and pass through, you know, customs anyway.
It's a whole thing. But yeah, Elayne says, I literally just finished one more. We should pick up another one. Though in fairness, Cairhien doesn't have to be a war. Not necessarily, given that the dragon wants it to be handed over, et cetera, et cetera. But it is, from where Brigida and Dylan are sitting, it's like you haven't even cooled your heels yet from the last conflict.
But she does use her conquer of Cairhien to calm and appease the nobles of Andor, right? She's able to give them lands in Cairhien of people who have died. And all of a sudden, you know, she's got this people want to be in her favor because she's able to give them things. She's bribing them.
Yeah. No, it's a really good, suave political move, but it's also a gamble, right? Like she basically does double or nothing with this move, and her advisors are like, ooh, maybe play it safe, help, this is scary, and it works out in the end really well instead.
Yeah, well, she's like, it's last battle time, I'm not playing it safe anymore, right? Like, we need to unite. And she points out that, like, if I have Cairhien and Andor, two of the most powerful countries, Rand has basically Ilion, all the southern countries, Tyr, yeah, and he's got the south. Elayne sort of has the middle, and the borderlands are going to fall into line, you know, and Perrin's bringing sort of what I would call the unconquered lands, that sort of chunk south of the two rivers, west of Rand's territory, right? That's kind of like abandoned, Murundi, all them. Perrin's bringing those, and Matt should be bringing the Shan-Chan to the table, right? So you really look at Rand's allies have really conquered, right? Lan is in charge of the borderlands. Matt's got the Shan-Chan. Perrin's got the two rivers in that area. Elayne has the middle of the country, and Rand has the south. And they should all be bringing them together. And I kind of wish that there was a little more togetherness in the last battle. The Shan-Chan kind of being wishy-washy, right? I'm like, Matt, do your job. Perrin brings his group, and they're not very coherent as a group. I wish they were a little more coherent. I think it's because he doesn't have a lot of channelers.
Yeah. But it really works out well for Cairhien and Andor, too, this noble swapping thing, because they both have a lot of disgraced nobles and depopulated estates and doing because Rand does that with Tyr and Cairhien as well, a little bit, where he's really trying to show, in his case, it's more of a keep them out of their home country so that way they can't get into trouble. But you see, people setting down new roots and developing new political alliances and like maybe having a bit more international camaraderie because now you have family members in both countries kind of deal.
Feels to me a little bit like Spain, France, and England all like exchanging nobles through marriage.
Totally.
Like, yeah. So you got Elayne, Carian, and Andor all kind of interbreeding, intermingling. You have this class of nobles that kind of rule over all three countries. That's all one intermingled family. Like he's basing this on European history without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely one of Elayne's children is going to be the Queen Victoria of the whole scenario in the next age.
So she says her claim to the Kyrian throne is strong. What is that besides Rand's decree?
Her father was a Kyrian noble, remember? Yeah, she's literally descended from, I guess he was brother to the king at the time when he married Morghese.
Okay. So she's literally niece to the king of Kyrian at one point.
Yeah, niece to the then king of Kyrian, I believe is the relationship. But yeah, that she has an actual familial pre-Dragon Reborn connection to the throne. Plus, the Dragon Reborn wants her to have it.
Right. And assuming her grandparent on that side was king, right? Because her uncle's father would have been king.
I assume so.
Before him. I don't think we have direct history, but assuming that the line wasn't broken.
Right. They were not some upstart new house to the throne. They were like a normal Kyrian house to be holding the throne for the, however many generations. And yeah, so that's a big part of where her claim comes from, is her father. Taron Damodred.
Taron Damodred, that's right.
Yeah. And there was the whole thing about how like he gave up the right to name the children because of the fact that he was marrying into Morghese's country rather than her marrying into his. And so that's why the kids were Tricans instead of Damodreds. It was a whole thing.
But then why is Galad Damodred?
Because when Taron and Tigraine were married, the dynamic was different, and their kid was named Damodred. But when he made a play for the next Queen of Andor, the negotiation was different because I guess Tom was in the picture or whatever. Just, I don't know, assume Tom is the reason ultimately why that happened.
Mm-hmm. I kind of assumed it's like, oh, well, you've already got your heir with your name. He's the oldest son.
That might have been part of it. Yeah, you have your firstborn son, so now the queen is going to have her firstborn daughter be, named properly for her purposes as a future queen. That's
right. It's been so long since I thought about that family tree that I kind of forgot how everyone was related. Yeah. But yeah, no, she does have a strong claim to the throne. You're right. As probably the granddaughter of the previous king and the niece of the one after that.
Right. I mean, Galad probably could make a claim to the throne if he was not a White Cloak. I mean, I'm pretty sure being a White Cloak means you give up your other claims kind of deal. But he has almost the same ancestry claim, like if they were really that hard up for people with claims, which they aren't because obviously.
Mm-hmm. So Nori walks in.
Right. He's got a little addendum to the meeting. They thought they were done for the day. And he says, I have a couple of pieces of news, actually, that probably shouldn't have waited till tomorrow. So here we go.
So this is where we find out that Duhara is advising Elorian.
But also that she wants to be seen advising Elorian. That's also part of it, is that this is not actually like a true secret. This is a covert fuck you.
Basically, I think because Duhara came in and said, I want to be your advisor. And Elayne said, absolutely fucking not. I would never trust you. You're part of the Red Ajah and Black, even though I don't know it. And so she is off visibly supporting Elaine's enemies because of that rejection, would be my assumption.
Yeah, making a show of hiding it that's totally ineffective. So that way it's just like, you don't see me, neener, neener, neener.
I'm going to put up my hood, but go in my branded carriage with all of my attendants.
Yes, very subtle.
Very subtle, very subtle.
But ironically, so it was subtle enough that Elayne needed her spy master to take initiative.
Yes. Well, that's why you need a spy master.
Her novice spy master, mind you. This is a man who was not practiced in the craft, and he still managed to do better than her at figuring this out.
I do like this. However, I have reason to believe that Duhara Sedai may have had a hand in the document seemed to be treating with unusual reverence. He glanced at the pages Elayne had tossed to the floor. One bore a distinct outline of her shoe.
So funny.
I like that line.
Unusual reverence.
And I don't think we ever get a conclusion about Duhara's plot. I don't think is she ever dealt with?
How does Duhara die? I feel like it's a little bit funky, but I don't remember how. Google.
During the last battle, Duhara was co-opted by Hessalam. Duhara and Phelan were in a circle led by Hessalam and faced off against the circle led by Avienda. The two Black Sisters were incinerated by Avienda. So she gets, fireballed by Avienda.
I wonder when and how she leaves Andor and messing with Elayne. Do we see that, or does that just kind of... I think she must vanish at some point. Maybe it's when Elayne tries to do some stuff. She just kind of bounces.
One would assume that the message gets out, right? The last battle, all the Dreadlords... There's a point where all the Dreadlords converge, and one would assume that happens shortly after, and go to be with the Dark One in the Borderlands, right?
Yeah. At some point, she chooses to leave from Andor.
And so at some point, I assume she chooses to leave and gets, recruited. I don't know if they're recruited by the Forsaken, or if it's just, they get a summoning through their...
Yeah, there's some kind of bat signal, and then they all go to, a central organizing station and get, assigned to their Forsaken to go off and fuck shit up.
And one would assume that happens shortly after Egwene cleanses the White Tower. Because everybody had to flee.
Yeah. That would make sense that probably Duhara bounces shortly after the White Tower purge, as soon as news... Oh, right, because it would make sense, right? Because it would be a race between if Egwene's message or a Black Sister's message would get to Andor first, right? If Elayne is going to be able to take Duhara into custody, or if Duhara will get let to know to bail quickly before that happens. So yeah, it must be in response to Egwene cleansing the tower.
Because Duhara's on the list.
Oh, yeah. And then next we have a page that Nori treats with unusual reverence, which is, of course, Matt's letter. Nori usually values his papers, and this one he's like, this is a dead rat of a piece of paper. And we get a little bit of a digression talking about why the mercenary captains are being handled the way they are, which is essentially that Elayne has had a lot of the same realizations that Perrin has, except without all the misgivings, but just that we need everyone who wants to swing a sword collected for the last battle. We don't need them for a succession war, et cetera, but we do need them for Tarmangaiden. So she's trying to sort of collect as many mercenaries as she can and keep them in a stable holding pattern around the city in preparation for the last battle ultimately happening.
Okay, yeah. And I don't think Chesmel and Duhara are ever in contact. She's not part of that group that Elayne deals with later.
Right.
Because those are the ones that are known dark friends. They're the ones who have been known for a while.
Yeah.
This is where we get the letter. The scrawl on the page was uneven. There were numerous crossed out words, and some of the spelling was creative. And so, yeah, we go through here, and there's a couple of crossed out words. But like I said earlier, this would be a rough draft that would be sent. I feel like it's like someone typing up an angry email and sending it instead of deleting it and retyping.
This is the stream of consciousness blowing off steam first crash. Because, yeah, sometimes I'll do that, right? To write an email or an essay or something. It's just you stream of consciousness what you emotionally want to say. And then, yeah, you look it over, you start editing, you end up deleting the vast majority of it in the course of getting to the final version. But this is that first just brain dump onto the page.
Can I also say, I think it's unfortunate that it's not read by Michael Kramer in the audiobook. I think having Kate Redding read it makes it sound less like Matt.
It sounds like how Elayne is reading it in her head. This is how
exactly.
Elaine's internal voice is reading it.
Yeah. It's more of Elaine's internal voice of what Matt sounds like than actual Matt. And I think this would actually be a fun thing to get Michael Kramer to read.
That would be fun. Yeah. Because, when you know, for me at least, when I don't know someone's speaking voice and I read their written stuff, they sound like me. But if I know someone's speaking voice and I know how their mannerisms go and the way that they choose to gesture and pause when they talk, then when I read their written stuff, I hear it in their cadence. Matt and Elayne have spent enough time together. It should sound like Matt. It shouldn't sound like her internal voice. It should sound like Matt. She knows what Matt would sound like. So yeah, I agree. We should have Michael read this. No,
and the crossed out, he crosses out angry and writes perturbed, but then in parentheses says that means angry, and it's like, okay.
Again, this is venting. This is the inside words. This is stream of consciousness venting. This is not. It's so weird.
And there's one where He was using his ring like a signet, like it was, and he writes paper, crosses that out and writes proper. Like, that's just writing fast, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no spell check on this thing. So, and yeah, he said, and like, I was going to rewrite this.
Tom is laughing at me so hard that I'm done.
I'm done. I'm not even going to like. And so there's that sort of like, yeah, this is just, it was a couple of guys who probably, you know, made a poor decision to send a letter and not rewrite it.
Yeah. I also love how he throws in the most important piece of information so casually. And
I need your Bell Founders.
Preamble or postamble. Like, that's the whole point, is the Bell Founders. The Bell Founders is the most critical thing. And it is given as little emphasis as him being married, right? Even him being married is given more words and setup than the Bell Founders line. But that's the real crux.
And I'm like, you acted like a queen then, so I guess I don't know why I'm surprised that now you act like a queen when you really are a queen.
Again, stream of consciousness. This is just dictating into your note in your phone.
So yeah, in my head, I'd built that up as a much more crayon-based, misspelling, bad letter. And now I'm like, I could do without the PPS. Don't mind me calling your backside pretty. Like, I think I could have just gotten cut.
Yeah.
And also the PS salutations means greeting. Like, there's a couple of things in here that I think would, if it was just a little bit shorter, a little less try hard on the Matt humor, I would enjoy it better.
I'm much nodding.
But it's not as egregious as I had built up in my head by far.
That happens. Sometimes we turn a bath into a series of baths, or a few chapters into a book and a half worth of complaining.
Right.
Although, yeah, Fuji points out, credit where credit is due. These are WoT characters trying to communicate.
Trying.
Which, you
Failing.
know.
Yeah.
But they are trying, which is more than most of them do. Yeah, this is emotionally cathartic for Elayne. Aside from getting the news that Tom is alive and all that, like, she's highly strung, and he just gives her this ridiculous little stand-up routine, and she laughs, and it just makes her whole mood relax, and it's good.
Well, and she's felt guilt over abandoning this group of people in Abu Dar. She's like, the Sean Chan came and I took the kin and I gatewayed the fuck out of there and I left behind these people. And as far as she knows, they could all be dead. They could all be enslaved by the Sean Chan. She has no idea. And so I think there was some relief in there, some unloading of guilt. And
tension, right? Like, it's one of those like things where you carry it for so long you forget you have it. And then it releases and you're like, whoa, I didn't know my shoulders could be that low. Holy shit. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going into her outburst here, but it's good to see Elayne laugh. She's really cranky, and now she's, laughing hysterically. It's great.
And Brigitte's line, he's got a nice butt, but his face is far too pretty. I'm not into pretty men.
But she's like, I will admire him from behind only.
The front,
Yeah. And then she says, finally, someone I can go drinking with who doesn't look at me as their bloody military superior.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of echoing Perrin in a lot of ways. Just that, like, I need people who don't look up to me because that makes me uncomfortable. And Matt is our irreverent friend. He will not look up to you at all.
And Brigitte was never really meant to be the commander of troops, right? That's not her role. Again, that should have been Gawain, who should be here doing that right now. And should have been during the whole Secession War. But, and here, Elayne has a good instinct that Matt's soldiers are much more worthwhile than most other soldiers. Yeah. And I think that's to Matt's credit, right? She's understanding something about Matt. She still doesn't believe in his luck.
So funny.
She does say, soldiers and their superstitions, when Brigitte is like, no, she doesn't believe Brigitte, when he's like, no, he's actually very lucky.
Yeah, she just looks down on all soldiery stuff as being, those silly plebs and their superstitions. It's just like, you need to pay more attention, Elayne, as Brigitte said.
And then immediately is like, oh yeah, who is he? Well, he's Taviran. So could you not see how the luck could be real? When in one breath you say he doesn't have the luck, and another he's Taviran. When Taviran is the bending of the pattern, which could be interpreted very easily as luck.
It's like the smallest stretch you could possibly make.
Right.
Anyway, she tells Nori, next time someone claims to know me, make sure to at least run it by Brigitte, and also definitely invite this guy in, because he is who he says he is. He is a friend.
And he's got Carianan soldiers, and we just talked about taking over Carian. So let's use those soldiers to be native sons. Because remember, a lot of the Band of the Red Hand, the origin was Matt.
Matt picks up the Carianan nobility during the Shido getting kicked out of Carian, right? He has a little core of the Tyrans, and then they're looking down on the Carianan really aggressively. And Matt has to kind of be like, no, y'all are equal. But yeah, it is Tyrans and Carianan who make up the band before it starts just attracting everyone with a sword.
Right. Okay. You're right. I got those two scenes confused in my head.
Easy to do. They're two asshole countries that mostly just operate as big military units. It's easy to confuse them.
And Matt's playing dice and cards with the nobles, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But yeah, he does have a lot of Carianan compared to most nationalities. It's Tyrans and Carianan are like the two big wedges of the pie chart, and then everything else is, irregulars from everywhere, I guess.
Except, the fact that it grew by multiple sizes while he was away. So it's like the core group might be Carianan and Tyrian, but I bet the majority are from, Murandy, right? Like that was
probably,
a big,
and Altara, and yeah. But nonetheless, he has a lot of Carianan to potentially loan to Elayne for a, more or less peaceful transition of power in their own native land. Which, like, in many ways, Elayne would be going in to help continue finishing what was happening when Matt was in there first recruiting them, right? Like, the Shido taking over and then the nobility rebelling against Rand is like, they're still dealing with the fallout from that. That is the power vacuum that Elayne is looking to finally fill permanently and stably.
And she makes the point, with Carian, I began knitting us all together. Rand already controls Ilion and Tyr and has bonds to the Aiel. She doesn't know about Perrin, she doesn't know about Matt, but like there is this like bonding of the people and bringing together the different sections of the world to fight the last battle.
She didn't get the Eilfin prophecy about the North and the South must be as one, but she's got the same general idea that like maybe unity is the correct approach to this upcoming world-shattering battle thing.
And she's also like, maybe I should be in charge of the Dragon's Empire after Rand dies, if he dies, which he's probably going to die.
I mean, she's looking at Carian and its void of power, and then she's extrapolating forward to Rand's much larger empire and the inevitable void of power that his death will create. And she's like, I'm a pretty savvy political operator. I should be positioned to take that.
Because Ilion and Tyr border her lands, right? So, and if they're both going to be left leaderless, all of a sudden she controls a third of the continent. Basically everything but the borderlands and the Shan-Chan lands. Yeah.
And in many ways, she's got the right arrogance to try to, match Hawkwing in some ways, right? Like Andor or Caemlyn has been an institution since the embers of Arthur Hawkwing's empire. For her to say, it seems right that the sun should never set on the Andoran Empire. It feels keeping in character with who that nation is.
It is Camelot, right? Like that's, yeah. And so then she's just basically like, yeah, I'm going to go take Carian. I need traveling to be able to rule from two major cities at the same time. So let's go talk to the kin.
Yeah, basically. We get a timestamp that Rand is really dark right now, but she really doesn't have time to think about that. She just sort of notes it to the side and then says, yeah, more immediate issue. Let's figure out the future of the kin.
What did she say about Rand?
She glanced to the west, where she could feel that knot of emotions that was Rand. The only thing she ever sensed from him these days was a cold anger buried deeply. Was he an Ara Doman?
So, yeah, timestamp.
Which I think we saw Perrin was thinking about Rand earlier and was like, oh, I guess Rand feels like shit for whatever reason. And he sees a vision of Rand with Nynaeve on muddy streets. And then Elayne thinks, here, is he an Ara Doman? So I think he is. That is the Ara Doman section.
Yes, yeah, he's failing Ara Doman right now. Yeah, where he's cutting open the grain and finding out that it's all going bad and everyone's going to starve and he's abandoning those people.
Right, that's where we're at in terms of the timeline. But yeah, that's not really Elayne's problem. She's got plenty of food. You're right, food is not so much of an issue for her. She's worrying about the future. The present is less of an issue for her. The future is the issue. And yeah, I guess I should do a readout.
Sure, let's do it.
She could not let that happen. The woman in her cringed to think of planning for Rand's death, but the queen could not be so squeamish. The world was changing. I realize it will be difficult to administer two nations, Elayne said, but I must hold Carian, for the good of both thrones. She turned and met Dylan's eyes, and the older woman nodded slowly. It seems you are committed. I am, Elayne said, but I feel I'm going to need reliable use of traveling if I'm going to manage it. Let's set up a meeting for me with Sumeko and Elise. We need to discuss the future of the kin. And that is going to be a very productive relationship for Andor. Having the kin base there is going to have short, medium, and long-term benefits for Andor.
Well, and if you look at where the White Tower is positioned, it's kind of in the no man's land between Cairhien, Andor, and the Borderlands. And she's already got the Black Tower there. It's like, she really is sort of making this space the center of channeling, because she's got the kin where the White Tower is going to retire. She's probably going to expand upwards into that land where the White Tower is, and she's got the Black Tower there already.
Yeah.
Because, look, I don't know. I mean, who's going to rule? Well, doesn't Rand set up rulers for Elayne and Tyr?
He sets up stewards for the dragon.
Doesn't the steward of Tyr become king?
Yeah, he does transition the steward to being a proper king. That's Darlin.
And what about Elayne?
Elayne, they find Stepaneos in the White Tower, still undamaged. Or is it Gregorin? They pick someone from the council who's not tainted or a dark friend or whatever, and yeah, he gives it back. I forget the specifics of how Ilion goes down.
So one would assume then that Elayne doesn't take them over after the last battle, and they just maintain that when they sign the Peace of the Dragon, that's just the borders are where they are.
Right, because Elayne has a large enough empire that she's a good ally, right? You don't have to take over a thing in order to be in charge of dealing with the Shan issue, right? There's the whole, in Avianda's vision, they call it the Pact of the Griffin, right? It's not one nation, it's a mutual defense agreement. And Elaine's not, power hungry for power's sake. She just has a very big sense of what stability looks like, which, in fairness, given the way we've seen these nations interact over the last 2 years of this book's timeline, she's not wrong.
Right. There's been a lot of changes in the last 2 years. I mean...
And the world's been shrinking for centuries, right? The human world has been in retreat, like the Ogier talk about, for centuries upon centuries. So looking to make a nice big bubble to hold stability in is, it makes sense.
And then to expand out, right? The one would assume that a lot of the unclaimed lands, now that you've got trains, right, are very quickly going to be populated.
Well, especially with the loss of the Dark One and the Dark Armies of Trollocs, right? There's going to be so much room for humanity to finally expand and have their birth rate go up and not all be slaughtered by the age of 16 and Trolloc raids or whatever. So they're going to be able to, move into spaces that they haven't had access to for many centuries and with such better technology. Yeah, it makes sense to set those boundary markers out nice and big, anticipating that growth period.
Yeah, and one wonders how much Andor and Cairhien are going to continue to be separate nations.
Right. Yeah.
And then I bet the Aiel a lot of them end up settling in the unclaimed lands of Cairhien, because there's a huge chunk of land between the Waste and in Cairhien that they've abandoned because they're afraid of the Aiel.
And then they're nice and close to the Waste if they want to go,
exactly.
visit their family who don't like being in the wetlands.
Or go to Iridian, right? Because Iridian's also become a major city, right? That's being a major hub of commerce and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, you're going to have a population center at that mountain pass. It makes sense that the Aiel would be the ones gravitating to do that.
Totally.
Yeah, the Fourth Age is going to be a real boom. For sure.
Definitely. Yeah. No, again, the only issue is the Shan, but I just believe that the culture has to change in the Shan. Like the fact that all of the Suldam can be collared just means that the society and the power dynamic is going to fall apart. There's just no way they can maintain it.
I mean, Aegianan and Bail Domon alone are on a mission. Lyle Wynn and Bail Domon. They're on a mission on their own to try to, jailbreak people's minds, for lack of a better term. Many people are on that mission. It's Yeah, the Shanshan culture is going to change profoundly and for the better.
Yeah, we'll have to talk a lot about the bargain between Elayne and Tuon about like the channelers and how they can request to be collared, and I have a lot of curiosity about the implications of that. It'll be fun to talk about.
That chapter will not be a doubleheader. Just making a prediction now.
For sure. But I think we're done with this doubleheader.
Yeah, that was quick. I will not say short and sweet, but it was short and fine, I guess.
It was fine. Yeah. You know, those chapters, especially the Perrin and Galad chapters, like one thing's happening, right? It's Perrin meeting with Galad and a few things around that. But like Sanderson really does sometimes when he sets things up is setting up one or two things per chapter. He's not necessarily doing a lot of deep movement in these chapters.
Yeah.
He's an outliner. And when you can spot the outline, you can spot the header of that outline, which was Perrin meets with Galad. I can see it in my chapter summaries, right? As I go through Sanderson's books, you know, when I go through Jordan's books, I'd have this happens, comma, this happens, comma, this happens. And I'd be like, well, I'm leaving out a bunch, but that's enough for us to get the gist of it. The gist. The gist. I learned that word from reading.
That's okay.
But my summaries of the Sanderson stuff is generally one sentence, and it captures everything, you know. So it's just even I am actually currently going back and listening to Warrior of the Altai, which is Jordan's, you know, proto Wheel of Time / barbarian fantasy, and just like the number of layers going on, even in that sort of early book of his, which is a very simple plot line with very simple characters. Kind of reminds me like if Lan was Aiel.
Sure.
And the Aes Sedai and the Wise Ones were the same thing as well. They were merged together. And like, yeah, so there's the interesting culture and magic system, and it's really good. But yeah, just the layers that Jordan puts in there, almost without trying, almost just by having rounded characters in the backgrounds. It's so good.
Yeah. And speaking of layers, I have layers upon layers of podcasts that you can find in the show notes, or you can find in theory on our website, foxandravenmedia.com. You definitely should check them out and follow us on social media on YouTube, because all the podcasts are going to YouTube now. If you're a YouTube podcast listener kind of person, it's another layer of infrastructure.
You can't see us, you can just hear us.
Yeah. We're still not doing our faces, but if you like to get your podcast through YouTube, which I know some people do, you can find us there. And otherwise, Equinox is coming. The world is on fire. I still don't have a dog. I think those are all the important pieces of information. I think that's all that the audience needs to know at this point.
You don't want to get into the assassinations of political and non-political figures?
Do we want to get into listing all the people whose deaths should be getting honored? Actually, for real? No, we don't. Let's turn recording off. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Recording is on.
So yeah, if you're just tuning in, you missed our stunning discussion on how much we don't know about video games. So I'm assuming that's not something we need to repeat for recording.
Nah. I think the people can stand to believe that we're video game geniuses. They can stand to believe that. We don't need to disabuse them of that headcanon.
Without any evidence to the contrary, you can imagine I am an excellent gamer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Life updates. I had my 1-year anniversary since my wedding. That was fun. We went to the coast, had some seafood, and had a good time. Yeah. So we still seem happy with each other a year later. So that's going well, I suppose.
That's good. It's now been a year and a day since you made it formal. A year and a few days, but over a year and a day, you know.
2 days, yeah. Yep.
I've celebrated another birthday. I am enjoying my mid-30s most excellently. I got to go see Thievery Corporation at an outdoor show. And if you know Thievery Corporation, you know that was awesome. The band was super on fire. I danced my butt off. It was great. It was great. We've both had a very good weekend.
Yes. So if my throat's a little more croaky than normal, that's...
Yeah, my voice doesn't sound like I was screaming for 3 hours straight at a literal goddess who was 2 feet away from me.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you don't have any leftover scratchiness.
Yeah. No, my voice was fine. My feet, which I expected to be tired, were fine. Like, I just sailed through that on cloud 9. And seriously, they were so on fire. they were just, the band was so tight and on fire. It was so good. Like, it's one thing to go to a show where people are talented. It's another thing when they are all thinking together and, like, you can just see them making decisions on the fly and having fun. And, like, half the show was an encore, I swear. It was great.
It's always fun when they, like, do more after.
Yeah. And then the dude came down with the hand to the audience, and all the hands were reaching up, and I got to touch the guitarist. It was so cool. I never go up to the front of the dance thing, and I just had every possible experience you want to have up there with none of the bad ones. It was just so good.
I can admit, though, that encore stress me out. I wish bands just played a set and then left, because then I don't know how long I'm going to be. Like, even if I'm enjoying the band, I want to know when they're going to finish. I have a hard time not knowing when something's going to end.
I do get frustrated with, like, if I scream loud enough, will you come back?
Yeah.
And, like, that game back and forth is a little annoying. But at the same time, I'm also like, if they come back, I'm so happy that, like, I don't even care. Like, whatever. Play with me. It's fine. And then I knew I was going to need an after party after. So I'm like, as long as we can stretch this out, like,
sure.
I'm not going home and going to bed for many hours, regardless of when you people finish, because that venue closed early and I was not ready to be done celebrating.
Speaking of staying up later, my shift is changing slightly. I'm going from just for a few months, I'm going to a more middle of the day shift rather than an early morning shift, which means I have had to practice staying up late every night. So I've gone from, like, I need to go to bed at 8:30 to I need to be able to stay up till 1 a.m. And so I've been stretching that out, and I have to do that in one weekend. It's a long weekend, but I still have to do that in one weekend. So I've been trying to stay up later, somewhat unsuccessfully. I made it till about 10:30 last night before I wanted to pass out. So my goal for tonight is, like, let's make it to 11, maybe 11:30. I'll have to do a very sleepy shift. I'll probably be very sleepy at work next week for the first couple of days. And then after that, I should be fine. But changing your schedule by 6 hours in a couple of days is significant.
I mean, daylight savings time already sucks, and that's just 1 hour.
Yeah. So, I'll pay for it. But I am looking forward to the change in shift. I think that's going to be, I'm just doing it for a couple of months, and I think it'll be a nice just refresher on my schedule to, been working at this job now for almost 4 years, 3.5, I suppose, is more accurate. And yeah, it's just nice to change. I've been working the same shift the whole time, and it's nice to change things up every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to the seasonal change. Equinox is like 2 weeks from now. Not even. It's less than 2 weeks. And I've had my birthday. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready for fall. Everyone pack up summer. I am ready for it to be fall now.
It feels like fall now. It does. It feels like it switched very quickly. Yeah.
That we got over half an inch of rain on Saturday night / Sunday morning. It's just like, it is. The fall weather is coming, and I'm finally ready for it.
All right. Well, speaking of a fall, do you want to talk about? I don't know how that relates to the book whatsoever. I was going to try and do it, but
no, I can't see how to connect my favorite season of all with these chapters. This is just, it's fine. Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. What Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.